Doreen Granpeesheh is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen.
Seal wants to know, what are your thoughts about brain integration therapy, interactive metronome outcomes to improve focus and attention? And thanks. I'm like only the most small amount aware of any of these things.
I'm not sure what brain integration therapy is. I don't know if you're referring to transcranial magnetic stimulation, like TMS type therapy, or if this is something else. Do you know, Shannon?
There's a new trend that there are these facilities that are popping up that call themselves brain integration therapy. And it seems like they might be using and it's very hard to tell from their websites, but it seems like it might be a little bit of ABA, a little bit of CBT, a little bit of everything, a little bit of floor time. But I don't think that there are any studies showing, what, and they seem to be sort of like a franchise. So I don't know, and I've not heard any like big success stories yet.
Yeah. So, and I would just suggest for everyone here, because it has been, I guess, for the past, I'm just reading what Ansel wrote again, which is it's about primitive reflex integration and brain balance. I don't know enough about this to comment, but I do want to say that, having been in this field for over 40 years, I have seen a lot of different interventions that have at one point or another come up that did not have enough scientific backing, and they've all kind of been the hot thing for a while, and then they've dissolved. So I mean, we're talking all the way back in the 70s, 80s. The hot thing was to do blood transfusions back then, and thinking it's going to affect your child in some way or another. And these were even at well-known universities were doing these, but there wasn't any kind of backup for this, right? So, and then over time, obviously, there's so many of these. Right? There was the period of time where so many families honestly mortgaged their homes and so on, and did hyperbaric oxygen, which is not in any way harmful, but it was expensive, and unfortunately ended up not really having any kind of effect on autism. And we did do a lot of studies thinking that it would be effective and that it would be something good. It ended up having no significant difference at all. So, and then of course now there's TMS, which is the transcranial magnetic stimulation, and that is something that is very effective for severe depression in adults, but has no backing when it comes to the effect on a child or on autism or the symptoms of autism. A lot of people have started now doing stem cell treatments, even though, again, there is no scientific backing. And so I'm very hesitant when it comes to things that don't have enough peer-reviewed publications behind them, just because we're parents, we want to try anything that might have an effect on our child, and we'll do whatever it takes, and we hope, and these types of things are, it's just you kind of have to wait and do the things where there is science backing it, and not necessarily yet put a lot of time and effort into these other things. I hate to say it, but that's kind of the way to go.
Yeah, Bonnie Yates and I had a conversation offline a couple of weeks ago. She and I were just sort of reminiscing, and she was saying how, I think what a lot of us feel at this point in the game is she's like, I want to be doing more. I want to be doing more. And she said, I just don't feel like I've said enough, done enough. And I was like, geez, Bonnie, are you kidding me? Because one of the biggest turning points in my life was probably 17 years ago now that Bonnie sponsored an event, and it was in Culver City. And the headline was that there was going to be a panel of people talking about autism recovery. And everybody take a breath. I know that that's a word that some people go, but let's talk about that in a second. But there was a panel, 10 parents sat on this panel, and they all had kids that were on the spectrum who were significantly older than my kid. Most of them were teenagers at that point. And they went down the line and they said, tell us, when your kid was diagnosed, what was said. And it was all dire. It was all moderate to severe. Your child's never going to work. Your child's never going to speak. All of it was. And my husband was with me, and my child was in an umbroller. That's how little he was, one of those little umbroller things. And it was standing room only in this packed room, ginormous ballroom, standing room only. We couldn't get a chair. We stood and cried.
Yeah.
So they went down the road and said, this is where my child was on the day that they were diagnosed. And then they went back down the row and they said, what is your child doing right now? My child's in college. My child is an honors student. My child is this. All of them wonderful outcomes that anybody would be thrilled about, whether your child was ever diagnosed with autism or not. Then they went back down the row and they said, how'd you get there? What'd you do? And some people said, oh, we homeschooled. Some people said, oh, we did some biomedical. So it was a little mixed bag but every single parent on that panel said, we did intensive ABA. We did 40 hours of ABA as long as we could afford to do it. Which meant in some cases 2 years, in some cases 4 years, and in one case significantly longer. That was the thing that they all had in common. And my husband and I went out the door afterwards and we went, okay, what are we doing here? And even for him, I did a lot more research at that point, was already on the waiting list to get started with good ABA, but he really got it in that moment. He was like, well, the one thing they all had in common, so the one thing we got to make sure we do is that really good quality ABA. Yeah. And that takes a lot. When you're figuring out which baskets you're going to put your eggs in, that takes a lot. And we looked at the science that came with the good quality ABA, and we said, okay, this is our, this is our 100%, we're for sure doing this. But then we did some of the other stuff that they talked about as well. We did not homeschool. Yeah. That was not what was right for our child. We did a little biomedical. But that was so pivotal and life-changing for me. It wasn't just one kid, it was 10 kids. And in some cases they had video. In one case, there was a video of the kid at college, and he was like, hi, I can't be there because I'm in college. And I was like, sign me up. Sign me up. And I just want to say, you're going to see other things. But for me as a parent, I wanted to go with something that, as Dr. Granpeesheh said, was back. Now insurance, it's so effective, insurance pays for it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't waste a lot of time on things that you're not sure. That's me.
No, absolutely. And it's one of the negative effects of these treatments being out there, is that they are time consuming and they take away your time from doing things that are effective, right? Your child's getting older and you're doing other stuff, and then it becomes kind of late. So ABA has been approved by the FDA, by the Surgeon General. It is the intervention of choice for autism. And because it is so effective, it is covered by health insurance. And it is the only thing that is covered by health insurance, in fact. And so I would really urge you to get your ABA going. And that's really important. Now, if your child is in any way physically ill, I think that it's also just as important to take care of those things. And when I talk about physical illness, I'm talking about everything from sleep. If your child's not sleeping, it's super important to deal with that. They have gastrointestinal issues, if they have allergies. All of these types of things are extremely important. And when you deal with those things, your child feels better, and then their ABA becomes more effective. So those are kind of my short summary words of advice. Is and I always say this from my and I'm a major provider of ABA, right? But having said that, I also truly believe that it is just as important to have a stable and healthy physical body so that your brain is awake and nourished and able to learn.
Amen to that.
Thanks for watching Autism Live. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.